listen, I don't want any more bullshit.
Woohoo! What the fuck is up, bullshit free gang? We are one day away from watching whatever dark wizardry Chris Ballard's ass is about to come up with in the 2021 NFL draft, and I'm fucking hyped about it. Now, unless your ass just got unfrozen from the ice like Captain America, there ain't no fucking big secret about the two biggest needs that the Colts have going into this draft, all right? But since I've already talked about edge rushers and which ones I like and the ones I think they should take in the draft, you know your man's got to give you what you need. So today, let's talk about motherfucking left tackles. Because real talk, this is what's going to make this draft so fucking interesting, I think, for us Colts fans. So we're going to dive into this shit deep down and dirty. Your boy's going to tell you what the fuck is up. But before I do that and get ahead of myself, let me be a good host and welcome you back, or if it's your first time here, welcome you to the #1 uncensored NFL podcast in the world's famous, always controversial, always unique, always outspoken, often imitated, but never duplicated, bullshit-free Colts podcast, where you're going to hear everything there is to hear about the Indianapolis Colts. But here, baby, you hear it with no coach speak, no spin, no PR, no political correctness, and especially, most importantly, 100% bullshit motherfucking free. I'm your host, Harkon Ajala, a.k.a. the Bad Boy Genius, at your service as always. And you know what? I got some good shit for you today, some low down dirty intel on the left tackles in this year's draft. It's about to go down. But before I jump into that, as always, let me ask you to help your boy out. I know you a pimp. I know you're a player. So take your motherfucking pimp ass finger right now and smash that like button down below. While it's free to you, it helps us immensely because it allows the algorithm to share this fucking podcast with other motherfuckers out there that want to hear the real shit, not the shield shit about the Indianapolis Colts. So smash the like button now. Make sure you share this podcast with somebody else that will appreciate it. Make sure your ass is subscribed. And last but not least, there's 3 ways to donate to us. You can hit your boy up on Cash App in like 3 seconds. So take a second if you appreciate what we're doing, if you like what we're doing, you want to support it to continue, and send your boy a donation. It could be $20, $15, $10, $5, even $1 will help us to continue to create more of this dope ass Colts content that you can't get anywhere else that you motherfuckers tell me you love, all right? So give your boy a quick donation on the Cash App or whatever, and let's jump into all the good shit about the left tackles, or as I love to say, and y'all love to hear me say, let's chop it the fuck up. All right, now, the reason it's going to be such an interesting fucking draft for you and I as Colts fans is because it is very, very deep in offensive linemen, and yes, in offensive tackles. But the fact that it's deep is belayed by the fact that there are only 2, maybe 3 consensus first-round left tackles. Now, there may be more or less on Chris Ballard and his team's draft board, but for the most part, there's only about 3 tackles that most people agree are first-round talent. That's Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, and Christian Darrisaw. What you have, though, is a lot of very interesting and promising second and third round rated talent, as far as we all know. Now, the fact that we know the Colts are looking for and need a left tackle of the future in this draft, as well as edge rush help if possible, makes this really interesting because how this draft plays out is going to have a lot to do with the situation the Colts find themselves in at 21. It is possible that a run could happen on edge rushers or left tackles, very possible. The fact that there are not a lot of them graded as first-round talent doesn't necessarily matter because they are so important in the NFL, and it's very easy to envision a situation where a bunch of teams would decide to reach. Say, fuck it, we got to try to go ahead and get one of these guys while we can get them. So it's possible things might be very simple at 21 because there might not be anybody on the board that the Colts rate as a first-round pick. Or there could be a bunch of players still on the board that the Colts rate as solid second-round picks, and they feel like they could trade back and pick up one or two of those. So let's kind of go down, in no particular order, the offensive tackles who are out there that I think the Colts should be looking at and should be considering picking, and the ones out there that maybe if things fall right, they could be on their radar. Then we can kind of decipher how things might go in the draft for the Colts. All right, so let's start with Penei Sewell. The dude's 6'6", 331 pounds. He's crazy strong, built like a brick wall, and when he is blocking dudes in pass protection, he looks like a brick wall. He gets the initial block really strongly and looks for more downfield, which is something I really like. He's stout. He is a good run blocker. There's not a whole lot that really needs to be said about Penei Sewell. He really doesn't have any hardcore weaknesses, and almost everything he does is a strength. He's big, strong. He is, by most people's accounts, the best left tackle in the draft, and certainly a first-round talent. Second behind him on most people's boards is Rashawn Slater. Now, Rashawn Slater, 6'4", 315. I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, I like Rashawn Slater even better than Penei Sewell. That might be controversial, but this dude has really fantastic quick footwork. He's very agile, gets really good leverage in pass blocking. He's also very strong in run blocking. I really like Rashawn Slater. He's probably my favorite left tackle in this draft class. I would absolutely take him in the first round, especially at 21, because I think he's a little nastier than Penei Sewell. But again, you can't go wrong really with either of these guys. But I like Slater. I think his footwork's a little better. He's a little quicker, a little more agile. And there are some teams that reportedly have him rated higher than Penei Sewell. Now, the third guy is Christian Darrisaw. Christian, 6'5", 315, very powerful with his hands. And again, this shit that I'm telling you, I'm not just giving you regurgitated bullshit from talking heads or pundits on TV. I've actually gone through and looked at the film and the tape on these guys. I like Darrisaw a lot. Very powerful with his hands, very strong, has the speed to get downfield. Now, Darrisaw, you watch his film, man, he knocks guys off the axis with brutal hands. He's not as quick with his feet and athletic, but man, oh man, 0 sacks, 0 QB hits given up in 2020, and that's against really good competition. He's a guy that a lot of people predict might, in fact, be there at 21. And if he is, I think the Colts will take him, and I think they should take him, and here's why. Here's one thing that might even tip him more. He's the only left tackle rated in the top 6 on most people's boards who have arms that are 34 inches long. And if you wonder why that might matter, well, in general, if you go back and you look throughout NFL history, most of the all-pro or Pro Bowl left tackles that we've seen, most of them have had arms at least 34 inches or longer. That is a huge thing that scouting departments, head coaches, etc., look for when they're looking at these guys. Long arms, at least 34 inches, make a huge difference in being able to block these fast-ass, vicious pass rushers, especially for left tackles who are usually, in most cases, are defending the blind side of the quarterback. That is huge. And understand this. This is important for you to really think about. Chris Ballard is a big believer in physical traits and measurables. So he's a guy that, he has certain levels. Like, look, I want my cornerbacks at least this tall. I want my left tackles at least this tall, at least this size, to have arms at least this long. This is huge for Chris Ballard. So understand that's going to factor in. Now, it's not going to necessarily be the deciding factor. You know, if a guy has fucking monster arms and, he can't block a fucking grandmother on a walker, then he's not going to do you any good. And keep in mind, case in fucking point, LaRaven Clark has like Frankenstein ass, 36, 37 inch arms. That's one of the big reasons that he jumped out to the Colts and was drafted. Now, of course, that was Ryan Grigson's trash ass team who picked him. But that's just to give you an example of how just that thing in and of itself, having long arms, isn't going to make you a hell of a left tackle. But it is one of those things that you certainly look at. And like I said, physical traits are super important to Ballard. So again, I'm going to tell you, assuming that Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell are gone at 21, and I fully expect them to be, if Christian Darrisaw is there at 21, he's probably the last left tackle that most people agree is a first-round talent. If he's there at 21, I would fully expect Ballard to just take him. Real talk. If he's not there, and neither are the other two, this might be where you might see a move down from Ballard. But again, we don't know exactly how Ballard's board is set, and maybe he has one of the next 2 or 3 guys that I'm going to talk about rated as a first-round talent. So the next guy we're going to talk about is one that a lot of people have talked about in Indianapolis. A lot of people are excited about this guy. We've heard that the Colts have had a lot of interest in this guy, and that's Teven Jenkins. Teven Jenkins, 6'6", 320. This motherfucker is a violent, savage bully. He's Q56 at the tackle position. That's the best way I can describe him. If you don't believe me, go look at this guy's film. I don't care what you say. You got to love watching this guy. He's powerful as hell. He fights like a pit bull. He looks like a nerd that will want to talk to you about fucking string theory and quantum physics with his glasses and what have you. But on the field, he looks like a fucking UFC fighter. He knocks guys to the ground. Man, he's like a pit bull. He's vicious out there, nasty. And you got to love that, especially when you think about him playing next to Q56. Here's the thing, though. He's not as agile in terms of his feet in pass blocking. And this is a big, big thing that I think you got to consider. He really only played right tackle in college. I'm not as sure if he would be as effective at left tackle, especially against speed rushers. When you watch him, I don't know if he has the footwork, etc., to deal with speed rushers off the left side. So, man, in the first round, it'd be kind of risky to take him at 21, seeing as he played right tackle. But I wouldn't say I'd be surprised if he was there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts took him, because remember, they have information that we're not privy to. They've probably had a chance to talk to this guy. They certainly have the professionals on their staff to know as to whether or not you can turn this guy into an all-world left tackle. And so if he's there at 21, I wouldn't be surprised to see them take him. But in the second round, probably almost certainly. By the way, Teven Jenkins is 6'6", 320, if I didn't tell you that. The next guy, Sam Cosmi, 6'7", 309. A lot of people have talked about this guy and linked him to the Colts. I could see that. He's basically a physical clone of Anthony Costanzo. Not as good in terms of his film work that he's put down in college as Anthony was coming out. But he's like a physical clone of Costanzo. He's super strong. He has really good movement and pretty good feet, really, for a big man. And he's an outstanding and powerful run blocker. That's one of the things I like about him. And he also plays left tackle right now. So this is a guy could be a really good pickup in the second round. Third round, absolutely. But if they trade back, I would not be surprised to see them pick up Sam Cosmi. And I certainly would not be surprised or unhappy if they pick this next guy in the second round, although some other people might be a little surprised, and that's Liam Eichelberger, 6'6", 302 pounds. Here's the thing about Liam. He's not rated as highly in some people's books, but I watched him against really good competition. He's got outstanding quick feet. He's quick into his stance, strong technique. He's more athletic than I think people give him credit for. He's strong, straight up for bull rushers, but he's also does well against speed rushers. And I think in the NFL, he'll be fine against some of the speed rushers too. He's a powerful run blocker, but he jumps off the tape in pass protection if you're really watching him. I think he's really undergraded. I think he'd be an absolute fucking Bonnie and Clyde heist in the third round, but I think even maybe a steal late in the second round. Got a high motor. He stonewalls dudes, and he'll pancake a motherfucker if he gets the chance. Watch his tape. I really like Liam. He's one of my favorites. If you can get him for value, I think he'd be a really good pickup. And then there's a couple other people we should talk about. There's a lot of guys, but these are the ones that I think really jump out as most likely that the Colts are going to select in the second or third round. Walker Little is a name that comes up quite a bit. 6'7", 315. I like Walker. He's solid, pretty good feet movement, especially in the second round. Late in the second round, he'd be nice. There's nothing super special about him, but nothing really super deficient either. He'd be a solid player, I think, especially with good coaching and next to the other really good guys we got. I think in the third round, late in the second, maybe so. The only thing is his arms are kind of short, and like I said, at left tackle, that could be a problem. But again, you don't know what's in his heart, what's in his head, how the Colts rate his character and what have you. But for value, Walker Little would be a nice little pick, especially in the third round for sure. Might be a little bit of a reach in the second round, but in the end of the second round, if they feel strong about him, I wouldn't be sorry. Definitely a good third round pick. And then the last guy I'll talk about specifically, Dillard Rayden, 6'5", 302. He played out there with Trey Lance, and that's the reason I think he's not more highly regarded, because a lot of people didn't see the motherfucker. But if you watch Dillard Rayden's tape, he's actually one of the guys that really jumped out to me. He played left tackle all 3 years. I believe he's played 3 years. Strong, has decent feet, but he's got a nasty streak, especially in his run blocking and in his pass blocking too. He sustains blocks really well, uses his hands well, and he takes motherfuckers out of the play. You go watch his film, you'll see a lot of times he likes to take people out of the play. Good, powerful in the run, powerful and willing in run blocking. I think Dillard Rayden is underrated because a lot of people haven't seen him. He's a little small at 302, but here's the thing. He has 34-inch arms, and that is a huge, Chris Ballard loves those measurables, has things that he looks to not go beneath. Remember, that's one of the reasons that they drafted our guy, Braden Smith, as a guard, because his arms were a little short, like 33-inch arms, I think Braden has. But, they kicked him out and tried him at tackle, and he's been one of those guys who's been able to overcome the shorter arms. Not short, but shorter arms. But Dillard Rayden, I think in the late second round, he'd be a great pick. I think he's underrated big time. Like I said, third round or later, I think Dillard Rayden could be another one of Ballard's masterpiece of special steals in the draft. Now, some people might say, well, he didn't really play against super great competition. That is something you got to take into account. But I think when you look at the measurables and you look at his tape and you look at what is there as clay that you can mold into a really good, solid left tackle for the future, and if you can get him in the third round or later, could be a big steal. So if you're looking at all the guys out there, and there's other guys that you can talk about. Hudson is a pretty good-looking prospect, especially, I think James Hudson is his name, a good-looking prospect. I think in the third round, I don't know, second might be a little too high, but third round, Hudson I think could be a good prospect. There's other guys out there. It's a very deep draft, but these are the main ones that I think we want to consider, and the Colts should consider if you're looking at actually drafting a guy you feel like could be the left tackle of the future. I think, personally, that if Christian Darrisaw is there at 21, they got to take him. Now, I'm going to take Rashawn Slater out because I just don't believe he's going to be there at 21, or anywhere near 21 for the Colts to take. But my favorite three left tackles in this draft that I think the Colts should really consider taking is Christian Darrisaw, number one, if he's there at 21. I like in the second round, Liam Eichelberger. That's going to be controversial, but I'm sticking to that. I like Liam, and I think Dillard Rayden is third. And those two are neck and neck for me. I might even put Dillard Rayden a little bit ahead of Eichelberger, but those two guys right behind Christian Darrisaw, I think are the top three choices that the Colts should look to take, hopefully in the second or third round. And obviously in the third round, we're looking at them picking up another pick by trading back. Those are the three guys I think the Colts should really be looking at. Of course, if Rashawn Slater or even Penei Sewell drop down, if something ridiculous happens and they drop down to 21, take Slater in a heartbeat, Sewell as well, but that ain't going to happen. Tevin Jenkins, again, based on what they know I love Tevin. If they pick Tevin Jenkins, I would be thrilled because that means they feel confident they can flip him over to left tackle and get past those few flaws in his game. So I'd be absolutely thrilled with that. But because he's not a natural left tackle, I just can't really rate him there. Also, Samuel Cosmi is a close fourth behind those three guys. I would certainly not be upset if they picked him. So there's a lot here. The most important thing is I feel like they got to come out of this draft with a guy they feel could be their left tackle of the future, if not two. You let me know, though. Am I fucking crazy? Did I miss something you think that I didn't pick up on? As always, look, I absolutely welcome debate and motherfuckers challenging me in the comments here. Let me know in the comments you think I hit this out of the park, or you think I missed something, you feel like I'm wrong, you disagree, whatever. Let me know in the comments. I welcome it as long as it's based on facts, logic, and reason, and not some blue sky fanboy bullshit. You feel me? Let me know. We only got one day, baby. So tomorrow we shall find out, although maybe it might be Friday if they trade back, right? But as always, this has been fun. I appreciate you being here, and I'm going to say to you the same thing I say to any Colts player, coach, or front office guy who's listening, or girl who's listening, because I know some of y'all do. Let's go out. Let's find a dope-ass left tackle of the future in this draft, and let's get about the business of winning another fucking Lombardi, baby. Peace. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby. And win another fucking Lombardi.